PlayStation. What do they call them? Direct
Yeah,
or State of Play? State
State
of
of
Play.
Play.
State of
Yes,
Play. Sorry.
it's practically a Sony Direct. It's just a
Yes.
different way of calling it.
So they
Or
had
is
the
it a
State of
Nintendo
Play.
State of Play?
So this news was the big news. So I'm not going to cover the State of Play directly because we don't have time to go through everything. But I will say that it wasn't that overwhelming for me. Um, they kind of left a lot of stuff out, and I was hoping that we'd have more information. So
By you said it wasn't that overwhelming for you. By that, do you mean like you weren't as entertained?
it wasn't. It they didn't have enough information. They
Like
didn't have.
you wanted more exposure of other games?
Yeah, they could have released all this news separately, and it would have been fine.
Okay.
There, it just wasn't enough for me to tune in and watch it. You know what I mean?
But you did
Um,
tune in.
but I did tune in, yeah. Because okay, so let's get started on this, and we can talk about what was wrong with it.
Okay.
So essentially, this is from Square Enix. What is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade? So this was announced during the State of Play, and as you can see here, Yuffie is on the left. Now, this is not a spoiler anymore. She's a character in Final Fantasy VII, but you don't get her until later, right?
She's actually in the original Final Fantasy
Yeah.
VII. She was a character that you probably didn't even need to run into. You could have beaten the game without her.
Yes, but people love her.
Yes.
She is a beloved character.
I'm just saying that she was an optional character.
Yes, she was an optional character.
Just like Vincent.
Yes. And those are two of my favorite characters, the
Agreed.
optional ones.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read this. So there was a lot of confusion regarding this. You and me got into it, not in a bad way. We were just discussing because there was some miscommunication.
I was about to lose my friendship.
So I'm gonna explain exactly what this is. So people, here's what it is. Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is an independent game for PS5. I repeat, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade is an independent game for PS5. So what does that mean? That means it's not DLC. It's a whole new release of Final Fantasy VII Remake for the PS5. Now, that's what caused a lot of confusion. Now, let's just go over what the changes are, and then you and me can discuss whether we think this is even warranted or not. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So, first off, they're going to improve the graphics, lighting, textures. Obviously, they're upgrading the resolution. Also, they're going to have a 60 frame per second performance mode. Now, the original was 30 frames per second on the PS4, right?
Yes.
Okay. So that is definitely a big upgrade in my opinion. They're also going to have graphics mode, which will let you play the game in 4K with HDR support. Now, I assume when you have this, it probably will go down to 30 frames per second, just because it's going to be a big hit on the performance.
Yes.
Then you can set it to performance mode, in which case you probably won't have the HDR, and it's going to be a smoother 60 frames per second. Then they're integrating the DualSense haptic feedback for the game. They have photo mode, which is going to allow you to take more, intimate photos in the game and share them with people. And then, and so, yeah, that's basically what this is. And then the big controversial change was they're going to have a new story, a new episode starring Yuffie. And I'm just going to read this for everyone. You'll play a brand new adventure as Yuffie Kisaragi, a new playable character for this episode. This ninja from Wutai sneaks her way into Midgar and devises a plan with Avalanche HQ for a thrilling mission to steal the ultimate materia from the Shinra Electric Power Company. So my understanding is that this is completely standalone. You're not going to interact with Cloud and any of the characters from the remake main story. And so by doing that, they're gonna retain the storyline that you meet Yuffie later on in the game. That's my understanding. And then your save data carries over, so you'll be able to play the game with your current save data. And that's it. So that being said, I'm not. I want to make it clear. I'm not saying that there aren't issues with this, but for reporting purposes, I want to be clear that this is a standalone version of the game. This is not a DLC. And they lumped in the Yuffie storyline with the PS5 upgrades. Now, so that's all the record. And now let's discuss like what we think about. So I'll let you
Well,
start first.
well, I do want to add though, and this is in the Final Fantasy VII wiki,
Okay.
that it says here that for those who upgrade to Intergrade for free by owning the PS4 version, the episode Yuffie must be purchased separately,
Okay. So
but it is included with any purchase of the main game, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade.
okay. Okay. So they're essentially this is the issue that everyone has.
Correct.
They're blocking the Yuffie storyline from most people.
Yes,
That's the issue.
from PS4 owners, from anyone that
Yes.
purchased the
Yeah.
game, that doesn't own it on PS5.
Yeah.
That doesn't own, yeah. So, I mean, we have a mutual friend that is really huge Final Fantasy fan. He's actually the one that got me into Final Fantasy.
Oh wow.
And he's able to play and beat Final Fantasy 3 in a weekend because he rented it so often back in the day, and he just like made his own like guide to it. And he
Oh
just does it
damn.
all off of his dome piece, his memory. He's just like that's it. That's how much he loves it.
So he made his own speed run for it, pretty
Pretty
much.
much, pretty
Yeah.
much. Anyways, and he currently doesn't own a PS5. He's a family man now. He's an adult,
Hmm.
and he's unable to enjoy any of this content, the new additional content, which
Yes.
is episode Yuffie.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, I feel like that's kind of scummy.
Hmm.
And this is coming from a very big fan of Square Enix and their properties. Like,
Hmm.
I am one of the first ones to pre-order most of their games. I pre-ordered, and here's an example. I pre-ordered Left Alive Collector's Edition
Okay.
and paid it full price, and that game is trash. But still, I digress. Intergrade as an idea, I understand the graphical and quality of life improvements that it
Hmm.
brings. The faster frames per second, the graphical upgrades, as well as faster loading.
Hmm.
I mean, I hope that Cloud doesn't have to shimmy so much
Hmm.
in between crawl spaces. And I hope that it looked like there are better skyboxes. I hope there's some moving skyboxes because
Yes.
honestly, the fact that they were static to begin with was kind of weird.
It was. It was very weird.
That being said, do I think that in and of itself is worth $70? I don't think so. You
Hmm.
can buy Final Fantasy VII right now, on PS4 from Amazon for $24.99.
Yes.
And aside from the graphical and quality of life improvements, I don't think it warrants the
Hmm.
full price tag.
Yeah.
Um, and then with the episode Yuffie being tacked onto it, it just makes me question what they're doing with this game in general.
Yes.
And I'm one of those dissenting people. If no one else knows, I'm one of those dissenting people that is actually quite upset with the remake and how they are divvying it up, splitting it
Yeah.
apart,
Yeah.
and not telling the story as I think it should be told in regards to the original take of it. Granted, I never expected it to be one to one,
Mhm.
but to take the different paths that they've chosen is jarring, and I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, and we discussed this. It was a question of toning down
I don't want to
the.
spoil anything for anyone that hasn't played it.
Yeah, yeah. We're not going to talk about the
Yeah, yeah.
story here, but I'm just going to say we have covered this extensively on this show, and essentially what it came down to was they decided either they're going to go all out and upgrade everything and make it this amazing experience and break it up, or they're going to do it all as one, but you're going to get less of an upgrade. And they chose to break it up, and we discussed that there are downsides to that, and this is what we're seeing in as a result of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But in addition to that, I just feel like they are milking the franchise even more with the release of these side mobile games.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that next.
Is that
We're
separate? Is that a
Yeah,
separate thing?
that's a
Okay.
separate story. We're going to talk about that next.
But in terms of Intergrade, the positives, because there are positives.
Mhm.
The positives is that it is a free upgrade,
Yep.
thankfully, from PS4 owners that own it to PS5. That's cool. And also for anyone that owns it on owns PlayStation Network, Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming for free next month on the
Yes.
PlayStation Network, which is
Yes.
fantastic because if you own a PlayStation 4, you own a PSN because PS5s are hard in supply nowadays. You can't find them, but you have pretty much a ticket. You have that download code, so you have that automatic upgrade as soon as you do eventually get a PS5. And
Yes.
that I think is actually quite cool.
Yes. Yeah.
So that does remove the barrier of entry just a little bit,
Hmm.
but the barrier of entry still for episode Yuffie for
Hmm.
any owners or first adopters, early adopters, is literally a PS5 console, and
Yes.
that sucks.
It
I
does suck.
wish, I wish, like if I got a PS5, you got a PS5, but literally I got lucky.
Hmm.
I got lucky getting PS5, and I even questioned it when I first. I'm going to tell you the story. When I first got a call for PS5, I went ahead and put my phone number on a list for GameStop, and I
Hmm.
know the manager of GameStop, and we're tight. And he called me first when he got the PS5 pre-orders, the
Hmm.
initial pre-orders in September, I believe. And he's like, "Bro, PS5 just went live. You coming down?" And I live minutes away from GameStop, and I was like, maybe. And then then I was like, "Nah, I'll go."
Smart move. Smart
Yeah,
move.
that was a smart move, but in hindsight, I did hesitate, you know? And if I didn't have that, then I would be in the position that my friend is in, where he owns a game, Final Fantasy VII Remake. For all my qualms with it, it is a phenomenal game. It is so much fun to play, and I
Yes.
enjoyed the crap out of it.
Yeah. It was
But
my game of the year last year.
to be console gated from extra content
Hmm.
sucks.
It does. It does.
There's no way around that.
So what if you had a guy that was sitting right here? He didn't have a PS5, but he had a PS4. What would you tell him? What would your advice be to him?
Wait.
Just wait, right?
I mean, that's all you can do. It's not so much of advice. It's the reality. There's not enough supply
Yeah.
to meet the demand. It's not like back in the day where you can just go to a store because of this pandemic, like it's hard in general
Yeah.
to just get around.
Now, what would you say to someone who hasn't bought the game yet,
Who's about the
and
game?
they're deciding like, oh, should I wait and get the PS5 version, or should I just play the free one? I mean, what would you tell them?
We have a friend, John,
Hmm.
who was on the podcast last week,
Yeah.
and he hasn't played the game because he doesn't like myself. Uh, he is against the business practice of taking the game, splitting it up like Square has done,
Mhm.
and giving it out
Yeah.
piecemeal. Um, and he has abstained from even playing the game or purchasing it. Putting it on PlayStation Network, I don't know if it'll change his mind in terms of how he will approach the game.
Hmm.
Maybe he'll give it a try because now it's going to be available to him through PlayStation Network. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't compete with free
Yes.
when you already have a subscription.
Yeah.
Um, but if you can wait, and this is me telling, it's like giving you advice, but like do as I say, not as I do,
Yeah.
because I want to play it. Like I want to be one of the earlier persons to be on
Yeah.
top of it. But if you don't have that need or drive, then yeah, wait, it's gonna be fine. They will release, historically speaking, if Square does what they do,
Hmm.
they'll do an all-in-one package in the near future, whenever that may be. But they did this recently with Kingdom Hearts.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I
And
you
we're
if you can wait.
yes, 110% they're going to do an all-in-one package. That's not even I
Yeah.
haven't heard anyone even debate that idea because that's what they do.
But my larger issue on about this DLC, uh, I say DLC, this additional content,
Yeah.
because if I don't purchase Intergrade
Yeah.
for the PS5, which granted I just might because I'm one of those collectors.
Yeah.
I like to have the physical copy because they will be bringing it out physical.
Yeah.
But if I didn't do that, then I would have to purchase episode Yuffie.
Okay. So,
And what I'm trying to say is the larger issue with episode Yuffie is the story, is
yeah.
the ramifications of breaking up the story to create standalone additional content that doesn't integrate, for lack of a better term, integrate with,
Intergrade.
yeah, yeah, integrate with the main storyline. And
Yeah.
my leading example, which I just recently replayed, is Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah.
I didn't enjoy Final Fantasy 15 initially when I played it.
Yeah.
I replayed it recently because I wanted to play the Royal Edition. I bought the Collector's Edition. I had access to all of the DLC, plus the most recent last DLC,
Yeah.
and I wanted to try it out. And so in Final Fantasy 15, there's the main game, and then each character has a story that is called Episode Ignis, Episode Prompto, and so on. And so each character has their little like 2 hour side story. And I see that happening with episode Yuffie, and I don't like it. They
Yeah.
already have the entire story.
Hmm.
And the thing is that with these side stories, it's like its own little game.
Yeah.
And granted, they can be a lot of fun. Episode Arden was so much fun. I really enjoyed it, but it's not a cohesive whole in terms of the game. It feels really,
It's busy work.
yeah.
It's busy work. Yeah.
And I don't like that they're fracturing Final Fantasy VII in that way.
Yeah.
If it is treated the same way that they did with Final Fantasy 15,
Yeah.
I'd rather it really be more, like I said, cohesive, for lack of a better term.
Okay. Yes, I think you bring up great points. I'm with you on them. And I would tell somebody the same thing. Like, look, the PS4 version was great. You and me enjoyed it. It was a fun game. Take the free one. Just take the free one and play it. If you
Yeah.
don't have it yet, you know, you don't have to buy this intergrade version. You don't. And what you can do is, like I said, they're going to do an all-in-one at some point, and I assume they're going to put the Yuffie story in there, and on the back end, you can just play it much later. Now, the hardcore fans, they're not going to wait. I totally get that too. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't
I'm
want to
one, I'm,
wait,
I'm I'm one of those people. I
yeah,
want to see what happens in
yeah,
episode Yuffie for is even though like I'm begrudgingly doing it,
yeah,
and I hate that I am this way.
yeah,
It's weird. It's weird because like I'm saying that I'm against something, but at the same time I'm supporting it, and it's really difficult to come
yeah,
to terms with that. Like
yeah,
I don't know how best to combat it because it's something that I want to do, but it's
yes,
also something that I really dislike that they're doing.
yeah. It's
And
like
and I'm saying this as a conversation to anyone
yeah,
out there also that feels the same way. Like, how do you come to terms with that? Like, what
Yeah.
do you do? Or do you just cave in? Because honestly, at the end of the day, it's still content that you do want to partake in.
Yes. Yeah. So like I said, I'm not of the mind to, if I had strong feelings that I was going to wait, I'm not of the mind to try to convince anyone else. If you want to do it, do it.
Yeah,
It's there for
definitely.
you if you want to.
Yeah. And even then, this is also a way for Final Fantasy VII Remake to get a somewhat of a refresh, if
Mhm.
you will, and to stay within, the perception of the
The
gamers.
the gaming
Because
zeitgeist. They wanna yeah, they wanna build the hype. They want to keep the hype going.
it's like episode 2 will be coming. It's not
Yeah.
coming soon, but that's another thing I'm concerned about is when will episode 2 come?
Yeah.
Because as soon as I saw Yuffie, I was like, sweet,
Yeah, this is
episode
episode
2.
2.
And
Nope.
then I was like, she's spending a lot of time in Midgar.
Yeah.
Wait, why are we in Midgar?
And that was one of my main complaints for the state of play was we didn't get any information on episode 2. Where's the information on episode 2? That's what we want to know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they might have had some clips in there that were about episode 2, but it wasn't like there was no like major like, trailer for episode 2. So,
Yeah.
um but I will say this, and you and me discussed this, and you brought this up, and I agree with you. This is also a way for them to give incentive for people to
Ah,
want to go out and buy a PS5. But the problem with that is that they're not available. If they're not available. So like if you're going to sell products and put incentives in them to upgrade to the next console, but that console you can't even get it. It just makes people. It's like poking a bee's nest. You know what I mean? People are like, "Yeah, I know you want me to do it, but I can't do it." So it just makes me mad. you know?
I would really like a console, but they're not available
Yeah.
anywhere.
So yes, that is an issue, and for all the people out there that bothered them, we totally see that as well.
Yeah.
So
But Yuffie does look like a lot of fun to play.
hell yeah, man! Like I said, she was one of my favorite characters. She was very powerful when you got her. It was towards the end of the game that I didn't figure out how to play her properly.
Ah.
She seemed to get very weak compared to my other party members, but yeah, she's a great character.
Yeah, Red 13 is a lot of fun too, but they
Yeah.
didn't make him playable, so what's up with that?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. Um, but okay.
Moving on.
Yeah, I think we covered all the angles that we talked about yesterday. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, everyone out there, we know this is frustrating, and we're not. Let us know what you think in the comments below. What are you gonna do? What do you think is right?